All right, so that suspect, Jake Patterson, is sitting in that jail that you saw behind Gail. He is facing 2 counts of homicide and 1 count of kidnapping.
Investigators believe that Patterson had no connection to the Closs family. Our Jamie Yuccas is outside the Barron County Justice Center.
I did not know he was my neighbor.
Kristen Kaczynskis called 911 Thursday when Jayme Closs showed up at her North Wisconsin home. She says when the 13-year-old said it was Jake Patterson who had abducted her and killed her parents, Kaczynskis recognized his name.
I kind of remember him living in Gordon when he was a kid. I didn't know he lived on the street.
You had never seen him kind of walking the neighborhood or driving around and go, oh, that used to be my student?
Nope.
Kaczynskis teaches at the middle school where Patterson and his siblings attended.
What type of student was Jake Patterson?
Really smart, really quiet. I don't remember him having a ton of friends in his friend group, but he had friends. But I don't remember him being in trouble or anything like that.
Investigators say they do not know Patterson's motive, and they don't believe the 21-year-old knew the Closses prior to the murders and abduction. The sheriff's office says Patterson shaved his head to avoid leaving any DNA at the crime scene.
When you saw his picture come up on TV,
I just felt sick.
Patterson's parents filed for divorce in 2007. The home where Patterson allegedly held Jayme was last known to be owned by his father. These photos obtained by DailyMail.com reportedly show the basement of the home Jayme was held in. There's a bed with several stuffed animals on it, and in another room, a couch and a TV.
This is a tragic situation from every perspective.
Patterson's defense attorney said Sunday night they cannot disclose if he's confessed, but they said they are hopeful he will be treated fairly in court.
There's going to be a whole lot of healing that needs to go on in this community from every perspective, and we have all the faith in the world that that will take place.
So Jamie Yuccas is outside of the Barron County Justice Center where Patterson will be appearing in court in really just a few hours. But Jamie, you also spent time in Gordon, Wisconsin. That's where Jayme was found. Give us an idea of what that town is like, because it seems like none of his neighbors even knew that he was in the house.
No, it's very surprising, I know, to people when they take a look at some of the video and see that there were houses on both sides of this very remote cabin that Jayme Closs was allegedly kept in for 88 days. But I can tell you that Gordon, Wisconsin is about an hour from where we are here in Barron, Wisconsin. It's a very small town. When I say small, there's a gas station, there's a church, there's a recreation center, and there's a bar. And that's pretty much it throughout the entire town. It's about 600 or so people. I will tell you that Jake Patterson's graduating class was 38 students. We've talked to some of his classmates who said he was really quiet, he was really smart. They all knew him, and they did not see him in and out of town. I even asked his teacher, who we spoke to there, who was the first person to see Jayme Closs after the dog walker found her and dialed 911, said the minute that she said his name, she couldn't believe that she knew him, she knew the siblings, she knew that they had lived in town. She had no idea he was about 3 doors down from where she lived. I said, you never saw the red car, you never saw him. She said, no. This was extremely surprising to everyone. They had seen Jake's dad come and go over the last couple of summers, but they never saw Jake at the house. That's very surprising, especially in a town that small. Of course, everyone seems to know everyone in those types of situations. So the cabin itself, I will tell you, we walked up to the property. There were no trespassing signs. So in Wisconsin, you can go on property unless somebody asks you to leave. No one did. When we got there, there were 2 other individuals who showed up at the home. They didn't speak to us. They didn't identify themselves. They appeared to be dropping something at the home. And when we walked through the house itself, we saw a lot of disorganization, but it looked like somebody who was living in a mess. There were board games, there were books, there were papers, but nothing out of the ordinary. And what's also interesting is in this small little neighborhood of about 6 or 7 houses or so on this looped street, it's very quiet. So I would ask some of the neighbors, did you ever hear screaming? Did you ever hear any commotion, any noise? And they said no. It wasn't until Jayme reemerged that they heard anything from that property.
So fascinating, Jamie. And I also find it really fascinating that investigators say they do not believe that Patterson knew Closs. That's, you know, surprising to all of us who've covered sort of murders and investigations like this, because the FBI, as you know, Jamie, will always tell you, well, there is some connection. People are not murdered randomly. I know sometimes the public believes that happens, but generally there is some sort of a connection, some very high percentage, and I don't want to misquote it, but a high percentage of people who do have some connection to the people who murder them. So what are you hearing about how he may have come into contact, if at all, with this family before this heinous crime?
Yeah, I know it sounds very, very shocking, but what I'll tell you is that I've talked to a number of investigators on this case and people who are close to the investigation, and what they say is they truly don't believe that there was any connection between these two people, unless it was maybe him seeing her at one point in time or another in the past and then targeting her. But, you know, immediately when this case happened, when she went missing, you have to think about this. The two parents are murdered. She's abducted. They do a digital dump immediately of those parents and her cell phones, computers, to see if there's anybody out there that might have a connection to them that may want to hurt the parents. They may want to hurt her. They don't find anything. That's why this case was so frustrating to investigators, they said, is that there was no obvious clue as to what took place. One investigator said to me on background, said, you know, what happened is she literally, it seemed like she was taken out of thin air, and then she just reappeared out of thin air. So this case really almost started the minute that she was found, because if you think about it, you know, they didn't have any background on this suspect. He has no prior criminal record that they can find in this case. So they really started at zero when they found Jayme, and now they're trying to go back through and see if there was anything maybe in his past or on his digital devices that may show some type of connection. There is one really small connection between the suspect and Jayme's parents. He worked at a Jenny O turkey processing plant. It's one of the big industries here in this area for one day. And of course, Jayme's parents were both supervisors at that plant. But it's hard to believe that maybe something occurred on just that one day between the suspect and her parents.
Well, he'll be in court today. Hopefully we'll get a little more insight into what was behind this. Jamie Yuccas, thank you so much.